talking about boundaries. What do I mean by boundaries? Boundaries need to be set up with the opposite sex. When you are in a Christian environment, you tend to let down your guard. You will, however, soon discover that there are different kinds of Christians. Ensure that you share the same values. I have been mandated by God to teach about sexual purity. Unfortunately, today, many Christians are not practicing sexual purity. And as I always say, our Christianity is incomplete without sexual purity. Be careful how you interact with the opposite sex. You are a human being, and human beings have weaknesses. Do not address each other with endearments. Endearments are sweet, loving names like dear, darling, sweetheart, and so on. Be careful how you use emojis when chatting. The love emoji, the kissing emoji. These emojis create expectations as you interact back and forth. And you will quickly move from we are just friends to I'm beginning to have feelings for this Christian brother or Christian sister. Do not visit the opposite sex if he or she lives alone. And please do not stay overnight either. Meet in a public space. Do not spend hours on the phone with the opposite sex. You will let down your guard and start developing feelings. If you are not in a courtship with him or her, you have no business being on extended phone calls with each other. Pray to God for friends of the same gender that you can spend time with. Avoid video calls if you are not in a courtship with a member of the opposite sex. Video calls bring a dimension of intimacy that audio calls do not. You have to be very careful with one-on-one video calls. I'm not talking about Zoom meetings, group Zoom meetings. I'm talking about one-on-one video calls. Avoid them if you are not in a courtship with a member of the opposite sex. Yes, you may say that, Pastor Bella, it is safe to do so. I'm not attracted to him. I'm not attracted to her. And I can't even imagine being with him. I can't even imagine being with her romantically. Have you heard the saying, never say never? Never say never exists because of human failings and human weaknesses. There are some things you will say you will never do, but you can easily find yourself in such a situation if you don't stay guarded up with boundaries. As a single, there are moments that you will face loneliness, and spending a lot of time with a member of the opposite sex can catapult you into a dream and fantasy land. Before you know it, you are in a romantic relationship that was never ordained by God because you let your guard down. Some people go into relationships because they're just tired of being alone. They don't want to be alone any longer. That is their motive. When it comes to an intercessory or prayer partner, I strongly discourage a single man partnering up with a single woman to pray. The only exception is if both of you are in a courtship, leading to marriage. And that's why I say courtship, because courtship leads to marriage, not someone you are dating. If you are praying with a group of men and women, it is different. But one-on-one is dangerous because the devil thrives in isolation. Spiritual intimacy is built with your prayer partner. You are pretty much naked before each other spiritually. It is very powerful. Before you know it, a bond is formed and you start opening up to each other about personal things, sharing your vulnerabilities with each other. And before you know it, romantic feelings creep up on the two of you, and you find yourself in a relationship that was not ordained by God. Singles, no matter how anointed you are very vulnerable. Don't let your guard down with the opposite sex. The flesh is very weak, so you must guard it well. As children of God, yielded to Him, we don't start romantic relationships with anyone until God makes His will known. Children of God, court to marry. We're not dating around outside of God's will. We go into courtships when God has made it clear His will for us. And I have videos that explain this very well. Feel free to look through the courtship and marriage playlist. If God ushers you into a courtship, there are still boundaries to maintain so that you don't fall into sexual sin. God knows human nature, and there are various scriptures that warn us to stay guarded. God knows best, and He does not want us to fall into sin. Many of us are very naive, but find ourselves in what can quickly turn into sinful and dangerous situations because we let down our guard emotionally and physically. Men, be very careful with women. It's great to be a gentleman, but do not be overly accessible to women. Women, be very careful with men. Be a professional. Deal with the matter at hand and do not be overly accessible. Don't just give out your phone number or contact information to members of the opposite sex. Moments of loneliness and vulnerability will hit. And when those moments come, you will find yourself turning to the member of the opposite sex that you have spent so much time with on the phone or physically. The doorway to sin is opened. Wait for who God has for you. Be faithful to your spouse long before you meet your spouse. The discipline you develop with the opposite sex while single will also help you when you marry. Please, don't use your Christianity or spirituality as an excuse to drop down your guard. Even as a pastor, take it from me, you must stay guarded up. The devil is roaring around, looking for who to devour, pastors included, counselors included. Don't spend time with the opposite sex. Be accountable. So, I hope this video is very clear. We all have a responsibility to be guarded up so that we don't fall into sin. And so we must be careful with how we relate with the opposite sex, even if we are all Christians. God bless you. If this video has been a blessing to you, hit the like button, stay subscribed, and share. God loves you, and I love you. God bless you.